In this video, traders, we're going to look at subtle signs a trend pullback may hold, and we'll get that continuation that we all love as traders. Stay tuned. Hey guys, very warm welcome to you. All right, so this is the classic bread and butter setup of traders across the globe. Whether you're a swing trader, you're a day trader, whether you trade the currencies, whether you trade indices, commodities, stocks, whatever. We're all looking to try to determine A, if a trend is going to continue, so it rips off the upside, pulls back, is it going to continue up? B, how to time it for the best possible sweet spots. We get that high risk reward ratio. Too early, we have to take a lot of heat. Too late, we end up chasing it. It's not enough risk reward. So getting a risk reward ratio right. And there are certain subtle clues that we can look at to help guide us. Now, is there a holy grail to it? No, of course there isn't. We know this, guys. But what we can do is we can look closely at some of the things. And the way we do this is, or the way I do this, and I'm kind of sharing this with you now, is look at all the pullbacks that have worked. Now, obviously there are millions of them, but when you look at current market conditions, and there's something that you can do as well moving forward, look at current market conditions, look at the commonalities between the strong pullbacks, or the pullbacks that are holding and then continuing strongly, and the ones that are just flaking out and V-shaped reversal. That's the last thing we want to do, guys. We're waiting for the pullback, we buy the pullback, and then it just peters out and just trickles down, or even worse, just hammers through, and we end up getting caught out on those V-shaped reversals, whether we're selling a pullback from a short side or buying a pullback from the long side. So let's look at some of the subtle clues. Before I do this, guys, don't forget to check out our channel sponsor, which is HYCM. There's a link to those guys in the description below. And just like I said, if you're trading indices, Forex, commodities, US stocks, you can trade those with HYCM. Different market type, or different account types, should I say, depending on what you're trading, depending on the time frame you're trading, and also multi-regulated. So there's a link to the description below. Go and check them out. And final thing is you can use MT4, super popular platform. Okay, so subtle clues. Let's have a look. So if we have, let's use an uptrend for an example, you're just going to flip on its head for a downtrend. There are slight differences, but you get the idea. So drive up, and we're trying to work out at this point whether we're going to continue on or whether we're going to just fade out and go lower. Now, one of the first things we can do is, and over on a daily chart, guys, by the way, this is going to be our daily chart. So it's slightly different if we're using intraday, but keep it daily for now. Lots of tails. So in other words, each day you have the tests at this low. So let's assume you've had the drive, you've had the pullback, and now you're kind of sitting in that pullback zone. You're not highs, you're not lows, you're in that pullback zone. You're going to see most of the time, for the strong ones that are going to rip off again, these reversals. Now, they're not always going to reverse and hold every day, so you're not going to have a tail and the next day just rip off. Sometimes you do, but what you have is you have certain buyers who are loitering and waiting to buy intraday. So when you see market at lows, it gets bid back up, and the next day it may not be ripping off, but it might go to lows again, but it gets bid back up. That's a good sign. When you see these tails indicating there has been a move to lows, sort of a sniff around at lows, sellers have had a little bit of pressure on it, but it's found a bid and it's closed up highs. That is a good sign, because you're saying, hey, there are still buyers there. They're not so aggressive that they're hammering it right off the open, or the sellers haven't backed off completely yet, but it's giving you a good indication that at least they are there. So watch out for that one. The second one, guys, little time spent at lows. Like the lots of tails thing, when you have a market that's pulling back, you don't want to see it staying there too long. You want to see that it lifts off that lows quite quickly, that it's seen as good value for buyers, that sellers are running out of inventory, if you like, and buyers are stepping up. So the little time it's spent at lows, or the fewer time it's spent down at those lows, the better and more likely it is to push the high side. So number 2, little time spent at lows. Number 3, quick movement back in trend direction. So once you've had that little look to a lower price, when it's done what it needs to do, and it might spend a couple of days down there, it might do some tails, when it starts to go again, so that candle, that next day candle, that should be a very strong candle. And that's, again, a little clue that actually this thing may well rip off the highs and go for a good run. And very often that happens when you've had a strong move initially. So really strong move, then you've had the pullback, and then you get the little kind of loitering round at the pullback level, and then when you get that strong candle, it really goes. It's almost like it's, you know, shorts are trapped. They've been trapped on the drive. They get pulled back, they're waiting, they're like, oh my, get out of jail free here, get out of jail free here. And then when it starts to go, everybody scrambles. Longs are scrambling to get in because it hasn't gone low enough for them to buy. Shorts are scrambling to get out, and it's that massive supply-demand imbalance that tends to cause the next day to be a real big drive. And I've seen that very often at the moment. I know before, retests after the first drop are shallow. So what does this mean? So what I mean here, guys, is when you have, and hopefully you can see that, but I'll redo it here. So imagine we've pulled back, okay, that's our initial pullback level, and then we go again. Okay, so this is number one. This is our first pullback after our drive here, so exactly like that. When we get another little pullback lower, because sometimes we'll get this, but they're going to be very, very shallow, like literally a doji day, you know, a little indecision type day, or very, very small red. Something that's almost meaningless. It's literally just a bit of a breath from bulls before they're back on the throttle again. You know, this is the kind of thing we see on the second shallow move. So pull back lower, the drive back higher, again, that should be strong, should be little time spent at lows. Then if we get another little shudder, a little pause, that will be very, very shallow. You know, like I said, it'll be a doji, it'll be one red, it won't be, you know, encroaching back into prior day's lows or anything like that, anything penetrating into levels you don't want it to. It'll be just literally a breather. Price will just be relaxing, volatility will be compressing, volume will be compressing, all those things will be happening, and the likely scenario is the day after, or maybe one day after that, then you get the momentum explosion again. So you get a couple of bites of the cherry. But those are definitely some subtle signs that a trend pullback may hold. Now, again, some astute of you watching this will go, that's a little bit late, and I get it. It is a little bit late on the deal, but if you prefer to kind of wait for a little bit more confirmation, maybe this isn't quite in the scenario you'd like. Maybe as a broader downtrend, this feels like a recovery off the lows. It's not quite as crisp and clear as a 52-week high or whatever it may be. You might say, okay, well, I'll wait for the pullback, I'll wait for the drive, then I'll try and get a little shallow pause, and I could just work my stop off the prior day's low and then look for a continuation. So you've got some ways to play that. But anyway, guys, those are some of the subtle signs. Lots of tails, a little time spent at lows, quick movement back in the trend direction, retests after the first drop are shallow. Like I say, don't forget to check out our channel sponsor below. Go down there and check them out. See if they're right for you. Take care, keep the risk managed. Bye-bye for now.